It's the Subway NFL postgame show, and it was a game kids dream about. Fans all over Cleveland will say they were at, and it turned out to be maybe the biggest win since the Browns returned to the NFL in 1999. 8-0 final in the blizzard coming off Lake Erie, and the victory over Buffalo to get to 9-5 for Cleveland. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz alongside NFL.com's Pat Kirwan. Glad to be here with you, and Pat on CBSSports.com. It is, when you look at this game and you see how ugly the field conditions were, Cleveland came out and ran the ball better than Buffalo did, and all of a sudden you've got a victory.
Yeah, you do. But, you know, Danny Marino reminded everybody during that show, when it's snowing, I'm throwing. And in the first half, Derek Anderson throws the ball 18 times, completes 7. And he went to Braylon Edwards, which I thought was fantastic. You and I were watching first half. Braylon Edwards go at him 6 times. He catches 4 big passes for them. They settle down in the second half. They go back to and they only throw the ball 6 times. Why? Jamal Lewis.
Yeah, Jamal Lewis on a 1-year contract, but in this game he got the ball 33 times. They rode him the entire time, and he didn't tire out the entire game. He wore down this Buffalo defense. But the other part to this is special teams. You look at what Phil Dawson did in this game. A field goal from 35 yards out in a swirling wind. Then a punt from Buffalo over the punter's head. They go for a safety. And then a 49-yard field goal that just goes over the crossbar in 8-0. That's all it was. That's all it took. 3 special teams plays.
Yeah, and it was all in the first half. And then I think Cleveland goes to the locker room with a lot of confidence at 8 points. They know the worst that can happen to them is a tie on a touchdown 2-point play. So they play defense. They play a great defense until late in the fourth quarter. We're going to tip our hats to Buffalo in the season. They're finishing up here in great fashion. Trent Edwards, I think, established that he's the quarterback of the future. This guy takes him on a drive down the field to threaten to tie this football game. Plays of 20 yards, 15 yards. They know who their quarterback is now. But Cleveland has their eyes on something bigger than a wild card.
Yeah, much bigger. Let's take a look real quickly before we get into that on the wild card picture here as it stands. There are 3 teams left for the AFC wild card picture. Jacksonville, who has not clinched a playoff spot just yet, Cleveland, and Tennessee. Now, if Cleveland wins next week at Cincinnati, Cleveland clinches a playoff spot. But they have the same record as Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh does have the tiebreaker because they beat them head-to-head both times this season. But Cleveland's schedule is not tough. At Cincinnati and then home for San Francisco. Pittsburgh has a short week, Thursday at St. Louis, but it's still a short week. And then they come back and they have to play Baltimore on the road to end the season, where Baltimore, that's their Super Bowl. That's the end of the season for Baltimore. Take your pick here. Who do you like to win the division?
Well, I would have said Pittsburgh was going to win till I saw the very end of the Baltimore game today, and I saw Troy Smith come on the field and operate his football team. He will be a problem down the stretch here for 2 weeks. So I think you're painting a scenario that's realistic. Pittsburgh has some problems right now. Cleveland's just going to take care of business. The schedule's favorable. We'll wait and see, but I'm starting to think Cleveland has a real shot to win the division.
A real shot to win the division, but how far can they go in this postseason?
I think what did we find out today? We already know that they can throw the football. They were averaging 31 points a game at home. We talked about that in the matchup show. What did they do today? They reminded us when you have a big 230-pound back and he can run downhill, and this offensive line has gotten better and better every week. Now you have a guy in Jamal Lewis that's going to give you, he was averaging 4 yards a carry, but if you're going to play some inclement weather games, I don't know if there's a better back in the league right now.
That was about 5 yards a carry today, when nobody could get traction. And Pat, you and I both wish that we could play like that, because that's fun.
That's old-time
Of course,
football.
we're sitting there watching inside in 75 degrees inside.
Boomer Esiason said it 10 times.
Yeah.
I would have loved to play in this game.
Of course.
And Phil Simms said 10 times. Well, what Boomer talking about?
That's how it works here at CBS, folks. For more on this game or any other in Week 15, be sure to stay with CBSSports.com and watch everything else on the CBS Audience Network. Cleveland, a win at Cincinnati away from going back to the playoffs. We'll see how that all works out next week. For NFL.com's Pat Kirwan, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care.